Alright, how's it going, world? I've decided to make myself a wool blanket coat. Kind of a capote style, I guess, with some modifications that suit my needs and my style. I've got a blanket here, one of several that I found at a thrift store. I have already done most of the measuring for the body. These slits are the armhole slits. Those 3 pins there mark the center of my neck and either side of where the neck opening is going to be. And that's just some excess that I have trimmed off. Next up is folding it all up, pinning the shoulders together, and then maybe start some sewing. Alright, phase 1 is complete. As you can see, it's really long. Not all the way in frame there. I want it to be long because I intend to use this when I go camping, either with my family or with scouts or whatever. And this will also potentially double as my sleep system. When I am just moving around or hiking, whatever, I plan to be able to flip up the bottom, tack it in place so it becomes more of your standard anorak or boreal shirt length. But I'm not going to put really any buttons on it. It's just going to flop, cinch with a belt. Can fold these up tight to ward off the cold, open them up a little more. Can even fold them over like this, and then we got that cool Jedi tabard looking thing. We'll cut some slits in the sides, probably just for ease of movement, and for access to pockets in my shorts and things like that. I think the next step now is I'm going to make a separate Viking hood with the shoulder thingamadoo, whatever you want to call it, and then figure out how to attach it, and of course, sleeves. Alright, here we are with the Viking hood on. Right now it's just held shut with a safety pin. I'm going to do some kind of a wraparound scarf that's connected to the inside here and can go around the outside to keep this closed when it's on, but as you can see, it's currently kind of longer than I wanted it to be. Kind of okay with the length in the back, but overall in the front and the sides kind of gets in the way. The idea with the traditional Viking capelet things, hoods, whatever you want to call them, they're connected in the middle. It's just another square piece of fabric. But I wanted to, again, be able to integrate with the coat. The coat opens. Doesn't make much sense to have a pullover cape thing on top. And I can just flip the sides, or the halves out of the way like that. So, more work to be done. And there we go. A little tricky, probably not the prettiest sewing job if you look closely, but got the little channel sewn in there. Got the monkey fist at one end. I left this bit long just to throw it over here. Kind of covers the monkey fist. Can tighten this. Just wrap it around monkey fist a couple of times. It stays put. Like that. There we go. Functions. We cut this a little shorter. Put a little knot at the end so it doesn't pull all the way through. And I'm not sure what I'm doing next. Sleeves? Hemming? Something. Alright, I made a couple of little tweaks to the hood just to get it to fit better. Started working on the body again. I was thinking about attaching the hood to it, and then decided it might be wiser to leave it detachable, so I'm going to add some shoulder loops to it, just so that I can leave it attached to the coat if I want to, take it on and off all as one piece. But in the process of that, I started making a collar that the hood was going to attach to, and decided just to modify the collar so it could be almost like a turtleneck scarfy kind of thing if I pull it up. That red square and piece of paracord is just going to be a little loop to hang it up on a hook. And see if I can get this thing through the sewing machine. It's cut quite a few layers thick at this point. Alright, mini update. Something's wrong with the sewing machine. The arm that presses down the needle keeps getting stuck towards the bottom. Haven't quite figured out what the problem is yet. But so far for today's progress, that kind of really hampered me. But I've been working on sleeves. That's one of the sleeves there. Here is a mostly done sleeve. Nice and wide, extra long. Got a paracord cinch, except that I need to make that channel a little wider that holds the paracord because it doesn't cinch. There's just not enough room for the fabric to bunch. Once I cut those stitches out, I probably should have pinned it first. It was kind of dumb not to test it. I'm gonna need to shorten the overall sleeve. I'm having the sleeve attach deep inside the jacket so that there's a little bit of a gap on the outside. I'll show that the next time I have it turned inside out. So yeah, that's where I'm at for now, trying to get the sewing machine fixed. I'm gonna cut those stitches out and go from there. Alright, so after destroying the little brother sewing machine last week, I went out and found a nice old, straight from the 1960s, based on the paint job, Nelco JA38 sewing machine. It's got two basic stitches, but it's solid steel, all mechanical, and it's kind of a tank. So if I break this, I've got problems. Time to finish the coat. Hi. It's like 26, 27 degrees outside. Giving the coat a little field test. All I've got underneath is a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm actually fairly warm. I can feel the wind blowing through it a little bit. So if I had on a wind block layer underneath, I would be perfectly cozy. I don't have gloves on, so I can tuck my hands in. Staying pretty warm. I still have to come up with a system to shorten the length, because it does kind of drag a little close to the snow. But I can, at least for a little bit, I can pull it up a little bit, keep the belt tight, and that should be okay if I'm not doing anything super active. If I'm just hanging out at a campsite or by the fire or something. I do still want to make the length adjustable so it's more like tunic length, about knee length. Got a couple of ideas to do that. I just need the time and a little bit more thought before I make those changes. Yeah, pretty happy with it. Alright, it's been about a year since I made this coat. Giving a bit of an update here. February 4th-ish, 2019. Currently 56 degrees outside, which is just wrong. I need snow to snowboard. This isn't right. I have since made a couple of other coats, one of which I just finished and I'm really liking. Just some different features, different functions. My sewing skill has improved somewhat. But I still like this coat. I still use it periodically. I'm a scoutmaster, so I do a lot of camping, and this is kind of like my my go-to sleep system. I don't really use a sleeping bag anymore. I'll use this and maybe another wool blanket. So I did add a significant extra length of wool here so that I can unattach this and it covers my feet completely and turns into kind of like a sleeping bag with arms. I'm coming a little closer to the camera here just to show some of the other details and features I've added to it, because I have made a few changes. So one of the things was how to deal with all this extra fabric. Initially I made these out of this two-part mixed together epoxy sculpt stuff that I've got. Thought it was kind of cool because I made them myself. Basically function like buttons, but they were, wool is a little too stretchy, so the buttonholes, even though I had stitched around them, just kind of got a little too loose and these kept popping out and they weren't working. So I came up with a system where I tied a strip with just some paracord ties, and then I added a line of paracord along the bottom hem, the bottom being when it's completely unrolled to its full length. And there's two stages of that, so I can tie it up theoretically at two different heights. Not terribly efficient, doesn't work so great. I have a tendency to, once it's tied in place, that's where I leave it. But like I said, I don't wear this as really an everyday coat anymore. This is more, I'll take it when I'm going camping because it rolls up nicely and it's, you know, good to sleep in. Some other things I did add since last year is I added a little single chest pocket here. It's just kind of at a slight angle. I can drop my phone in there. Fits in there pretty good, and because of the angle it'll stay in there even though there's no button, no snap. I mean, that was one of the things I really wanted to keep with this coat, was I didn't want zippers, I didn't want buttons or anything that would break when I'm out camping, things that would need to be repaired. So it's pretty simple. I added some ties, just kind of like a karate gi style. And if these were to rip or break, I still have a belt or something that would keep this closed pretty well. So I've got one on the inside that ties closed from the inside, one on the outside here, and then I've got another one here that ties also to this tie here. So when I've got the collar all the way rolled up that you saw in one of the photos, the tall collar is nice. One of the things I don't like about it is I got long hair. So in the process, which maybe I'll show you in a second, when I put the hood up, put the collar up, and then I roll it down, because the process of rolling the wool kind of binds itself together and it holds itself without any other kind of closure or tie or anything. I get my hair wrapped up in it, and that sucks. So I've since devised a better system for that for the current coat that I just finished making. So I made a couple of changes to the Viking hood too. Gone is the paracord with monkey fist. That just wasn't really working, wasn't staying closed. I just went with a basic standard tie. I also added a little bit of trim around the edge because the edge was just fraying and it looked kind of ugly. It gives it a little bit more shape, but you know, this hood is still huge, so it doesn't, I didn't put any tie around the opening or anywhere else, so it just, you know, you bend forward, your head gets lost in it. Also not great, but for the purposes of camping and sleeping, it's fine because I can cover my face and stay nice and warm, and it's all good. If I continue to use this hood, I'll probably have to do something about this edge. It's got the same problem going on. It's fraying. But I don't know what I'm doing with this yet. It was kind of a prototype. I like the way it works in general. But the new coat I just made, which you'll see once I have time to edit the video together, I'm really in love with that one. I'm really liking the way that turned out and the way it functions and everything. So this still does flip out of the way. Kind of a cape-like effect there. Take this off, hang it on my tripod here. Keep it out of the snow. Oops. So, put that little ring down. So this is what it wound up looking like. I did make a belt out of wool, but I didn't feel like digging that out right now because that wasn't terribly accessible. This white wool coat is the second coat I made, which I'll be doing a video about shortly. Well, I've already got the video filmed from last year when I made it, but I'll probably be doing another update like this. Wait for the car to pass. Yay. Live out in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road that's about a mile long. There's only 7 houses, never any traffic, but now that I've got a camera out here pointed at the road, a car drives by. So anyway, yeah, one of the other features here, like I had pointed out, was so that it could wrap like this. This tie would connect to, so there's the inside. There's the inside tie. Go like this, like this. Get that opened. Just tie in square knots. All right, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear me talking once I do this because my face will be covered. So I'll just try to explain what I'm doing first. Nice and tall, you see it comes up to the, crown of my head basically. I wrap it in front and then I roll it. You can do the same thing with a regular wool blanket, wrap it around your waist or your body and make kind of basically a skirt out of it. It stays pretty warm. See, I'm not even going to bother trying to finish that because number 1, I forgot to take my glasses off, which makes it harder. And number 2, I just started pulling out all my hair, which, as I mentioned before, sucks. So I'm not going to continue with that because I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm going to keep the hair as long as I can. So anyway, this is the long coat. The extra long sleeves that roll up. I never use the paracord cinches. They just weren't terribly effective. Probably would have been better with some elastic, but because there's so much space here, I'd have to have like 12 feet of elastic cord in there, and that just isn't practical. But the sleeves do roll up and stay reasonably well, so that's okay. But, one of the nice things about this too is that because the sleeves are so wide, I can fit other layers underneath. So if I'm, gonna be out and it's really, really cold, I can wear that new coat that I like so much, and this can fit on top of it. Whereas with the new coat, there's not a ton of room for extra layers underneath. I can get some of my smart wool shirts underneath, which kept me warm enough when I was snowboarding the other night. But if I really wanted to be super warm, I'd wear that coat and then this one on top. And again, this one still comes camping with me because it's basically my sleeping bag. So that about does it for this video on the long coat. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe to my channel. I'm an artist, so this isn't what I regularly do. This is just sort of a side hobby. I don't post a lot of art videos right now. I'm trying to gear up to do more of that. But I really want to get my subscriber count up so I can actually give a name to my channel. I have a custom URL to point people towards. So do me a favor and just subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.